Hello dear guys, this is Anil Kumar Shrivastava from Mobishala. My app is AKCS2121. Anil Kumar Shrivastava from Mobishala. My app is AKCS2121. Today we are going to discuss the syllabi of the public administration as optional. As optional, public administration has been very popular in state and central civil services. I would like to tell you in the civil services examinations conducted by the UPSC and various state public service commissions. So today we are going to discuss the syllabi or syllabus of the public administration as optional. We would be in fact incorporating a few topics which have been omitted by the UPSC but which have been included by various state civil services examinations. For example, keeping in mind the 67th BPSC examinations and the forthcoming civil services examinations conducted by the UPSC, we would be discussing the syllabus, and accordingly we would be also covering the entire syllabus and giving you the content needed. Let me start the discussion. There are 14 chapters in in public administration paper second, that is Indian administration, and there are 12 chapters in public administration paper first. So let me start with paper first, paper second of public administration. It covers 12 chapters and it 14 chapters. Some of the topics under various chapters in fact are common that we will also be discussing. Let me start discussion on paper first, and thereafter I will be discussing a few questions. In the paper first, the first topic suggested or the first chapter suggested, in fact first chapter suggested is introduction. And the first topic suggested, this is the same in 67th BPSC and various other state civil services examinations. However, it appears as GS in Rajasthan PCS. I would like to tell you, it does not appear in the optional paper there, as there is no optional in Rajasthan civil services examinations. So here we would be discussing it from the perspective of the UP civil services, Bihar civil services, and of course the civil services examinations conducted by the UPSC. The first topic suggested under the introduction is meaning, scope, and significance. I would like to tell you there is a major difference between the general studies paper and optional paper. In general studies paper, there is hardly any need to quote an authority on the subject. But when we discuss topics of the optional paper, we need to in fact mention the names of the authorities on the topics. For example, while discussing the meaning, we would be quoting several authorities or public administrationists. Those administrators who had also been scholars are called public administrationists. So we would be quoting various quotes of these scholars and public administrationists there. For example, what Gerald E. Caden thinks, what Ian Gladden thinks, what V. A. Thompson thinks, what Smith thinks, or some other scholar, Luther Gulick, etc., Simon, etc., think. We would be in fact discussing all these things under meaning, what how they in fact define it. Rather we would be focusing on the meaning. First we would be having a general discussion on the meaning, and thereafter we would be having the view of the scholars on them. Similarly, while discussing the scope, we would be discussing in which way public administration in fact appears in our public life. So it is taught as a discipline, it is practiced by the bureaucrats, hence it is in fact a practicing subject or practicing topic as well. It is also practiced by the politicians. Politicians and bureaucrats together may in fact make up what we call the part of the public administration. It also indicates a process, so we would be discussing it as a practicing subject or as a profession. We would be discussing it as a discipline, we would be discussing it as a procession or process. So we would be discussing it from various perspectives. This way we would be covering the scope, and accordingly we would also be discussing the questions that had appeared on them or that had been asked in in public administration on such topics in various states civil services examinations, in the UPSC examination. While discussing significance, we would be quoting here the views of a few scholars. For example, according to Caden, there are certain aspects that indicate significance of the public administration and its study as a discipline. We would be having a separate discussion on this one. We would also be discussing questions asked thereupon. Later, in fact, we would be discussing questions asked on all of them together, not separately. In fact, how a question could appear on all of them, or a question could contain different components related to each topic that we have indicated here or hinted here. Second topic under the first chapter is Wilson's vision of public administration. Here there is a divergence, a little divergence you can say, in Bihar Public Service Commission's examination, that is civil services examination. For example, in Bihar public administration, say public and private administration, this also appears there as a topic under the first one, that is the introduction one, and after meaning, scope and significance, public and private administration. So here we would be looking at different aspects, how public administration stands different from private administration, and what are the views of different scholars like L.D. White and others. We would be having a separate discussion on this one. In fact, we would be discussing the views of Josiah Stamp, Sir Herbert Simon and L.D. White. We would be discussing the views of so many scholars. After discussing this, in fact, this would cover Bihar Public Service Commission. However, as I told you, the Public Service Commission of the state of Uttar Pradesh has virtually copied the syllabus of the UPSC, while there is no optional in the state of Rajasthan. This pattern varies slightly, with smaller questions that are being asked in the state of MP. So we would be covering the state of Bihar, the state of Uttar Pradesh, the state of MP, and of course that of Rajasthan. So we would be discussing all these things, but our main focus will be on discussing the topics asked are hinted by the UPSC and questions appearing thereupon. Next topic in the UPSC, after discussing this, this does not appear, public and private administration does not appear in civil services examination. Earlier it was in fact there, but in 2009-10, the in fact 2007-8, the UPSC chose to omit it or say remove it from this section. So there is no such a topic as public and private administration in the syllabus hinted by the UPSC. The next topic is Wilson's vision of public administration. Here we would be looking how public administration evolved and how Woodrow Wilson became its founding father. Evolution of the discipline and its present status. We would further be in fact tracing the evolution ever since its inception, say in the last quarter of the last century, in fact 19th century, not last century, 19th century, and we would be tracing it up to present, how things evolved, how it evolved say into a discipline, and what were the stages, how things panned out, and what were the hiccups. In fact we would be discussing 5 major stages of its evolution. Thereafter we would be discussing new public administration. I would like to tell you here, new public administration, the term new in fact is indicative of the sensitivity that an administrator should nurse in his mind and heart while dealing with a poor person. So we would be looking at what prompted it to be a new public administration, how it emerged as a sub-discipline within the broader discipline of public administration during 1960s. We would be looking at this one. This topic would be followed by public choice approach. We would be looking at various aspects and scholars' views. In fact, we would be looking at the views of Vincent Ostrom, William Niskanen and others, and we would also be looking at some of the implied topics like Pareto optimality and Pareto development. In fact, the question had already appeared in the UPSC mains examination. We would be looking at that one, and we would also be attempting to in fact provide a model answer to you. Another topic is challenges of LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. What are the challenges? First I would in fact make the concept clear, and thereafter I would discuss the challenges. Good governance, we would be discussing components of good governance and good governance initiative here in India, also abroad, in fact in different countries, especially the United States of America, how initiatives with respect to good governance were taken up. We would be discussing thereafter its concept and application, that is good governance concept and application. What are its concept? In fact, while discussing the components, we would also be tracing its concept, and thereafter its application. We would be discussing it with reference to different countries, how things in fact have been applied in public life, in fact in practical life. And lastly, we would be discussing new public management, and would be looking at what the difference in fact makes it new public management and public management, traditional public management. I would like to tell you the term new, what is indicative of what the term new indicates. Second chapter is administrative thought. This in fact demands complete understanding of some of the scholarly views on some of the topics or frameworks. It provides a conceptual framework such as scientific management and scientific management movement. Here we would be discussing it with a special reference of say to 1910 and later in fact developments. I would like to tell you that we would be looking at different aspects or stages of this one, and at the same time we would be looking at the experiments conducted by a few scholars. You must be knowing the name of the scholar. In fact, scientific management term was coined by someone else, but it was evolved by someone. In fact, it was brought into focus by someone else. So we would be looking at these different scholars and their efforts into making it. Next one is classical theory. We would be looking at different scholars' views. I would not name anyone here. In fact, we would be looking at different scholars, starting from even Woodrow Wilson himself, followed by some of his followers and other scholars, including of course Luther Gulick, Lyndall Urwick, and others, Leonard say D. White, L.D. White, say, and others. We would be looking say at all these scholars' views. We would be looking further say at Weberian bureaucracy, its ideal model, ideal construct, its critique, and post-Weberian developments. We would be looking at post-Weberian developments. We would be looking at dynamic administration, the concept floated by Mary Parker Follett. We would be looking at say her views, say what she says about dynamic administration. Next one, for the next topic that follows it is human relations theory. We would start it with Elton Mayo and others, in fact, who contributed to this theory, and what is the core, what is the focus of this theory, how this theory in fact attempted to provide an alternative to scientific management theory. Say I would like to tell you that we would be looking at these two things, and as a comparative study, in fact, it is important also from the perspective of both Public Service Commission, State Public Service Commission's examinations, and examinations conducted by the UPSC, as such questions have already appeared. We would be looking at Chester Irwin Bernard's views on the functions of the executive, Simon's decision making theory, and participative management, say Rensis Leckert, Chris Argyris, and Douglas McGregor's views. We would be looking at their views separately and also in comparative fashion. The third chapter here is administrative behavior. It again demands a theoretical understanding of the background and say the theoretical in fact framework for various topics suggested here. For example, process and techniques of decision making, communication, morale, motivation. In fact, here we would be discussing the views of some of the scholars like Maslow, Hertzberg, etc., and we would be comparing them with other views as well. Say motivation theories, we would be discussing its content, process, and contemporary theories. Theories of leadership, traditional and modern, we would be looking at various aspects of leadership theories, and we would be looking at its traditional and modern approaches. Say the fourth chapter that we are going to discuss again need in fact a theoretical background and theoretical framework. This is organizations. In under organizations, we would be discussing various topics like theories, especially system and contingency theories, structure and forms, ministries and departments. In fact, structure and forms of what? Ministries and departments, corporations, companies, boards and commissions, ad hoc and advisory bodies, headquarters and field relationship, regulatory authorities, public-private partnership, PPP model. Say the fifth chapter is accountability and control. We are discussing the first paper. Now the fifth chapter is accountability and control, and various topics suggested under this one is concept of accountability and control, legislative, executive and judicial control over administration. In fact, we would be discussing this one from the perspective of the Indian administration, and we would at the same time be covering say some of the topics of the second paper suggested say under chapter 4 under various topics. For example, executive, parliamentary, judiciary, structure, functions, work processes. So this in fact is common with various topics suggested in paper second. So we would be in fact discussing it in a way where we can discuss in a holistic fashion the entire topics, so that we need not say have to repeat it. So we would be discussing it the concept of accountability. What does accountability mean? What does control mean? How accountability and control are interlinked, and the various say in fact bodies, their functioning, legislative, executive, judicial, control over administration and their control over bureaucracy. When we talk of the executive control over bureaucracy, in fact it is ministers' control over bureaucracy. Later under the same chapter we would be discussing citizen and administration, role of media, interest groups, voluntary organizations, civil society, citizen charter, right to information, social audit. Here too we would be covering some of the topics given in a GS paper second. For example, when we would be discussing say the various say rights provided by the government or the constitution, in fact by the constitution, not government, in fact you can say statutory rights and other things, or say citizenship, say a citizen charter, what I mean to say, we would be discussing also here some of the topics linked to that one. For example, significant issues in Indian administration. For example, we would be discussing National Human Rights Commission and say values in public service. While discussing some of the accountability issues there, we would be also be discussing values in public service under chapter 14 of paper second. I would tell you later. So when we would provide you a constitutional and legal and say common framework interface, what I mean to say, between citizen and administration, we would be discussing say several other issues also of the second paper, GS second paper. I would like to tell you that though local bodies have not been discussed in the first paper, but and they appear in the second paper, but I would like to tell you there is a connection between the second paper, local bodies discussion, and first paper. For example, when we would be discussing citizen administration interface, we would also be discussing how administration interacts with the local bodies and what are their role. So under municipal governance and under say Panchayat Raj system, we would be discussing some of the topics. I would like to tell you that say this way we would be finishing our discussion on accountability and control, that is the 5th chapter. The 6th chapter is administrative law. Here our focus would be on the discussion of the concept floated by say Dicey. In fact, Dicey is critical of the French system, dry administrative system. We would be having a separate discussion on. We would also be discussing delegated legislation. The next chapter that follows it, that is 7th chapter, is comparative public administration. Here our focus would be on the discussion of the model provided by Riggs, Fred W. Riggs, Riggsian model. In fact, we would be discussing say under chapter 8. I would like to tell you we would be discussing dynamic administration. So various concept, say for example bureaucracy and development, it also appears in the second paper, bureaucracy and development. We would be discussing it, and I would like to tell you that this we would be discussing with a special reference to say the second chapter, philosophical and constitutional framework of government, salient features and value premises, constitutionalism, political theory, bureaucracy and democracy, bureaucracy and development. So we would be discussing this one with a special reference to chapter 2 of the second paper. So but majority of our time would be to focus upon the Riggsian models that has been hinted here. It's the ecology of public administration is another topic on which various questions appear. However, here we would be in fact also discussing the views of other scholars. The next chapter that follows the 7th one is the 8th chapter, development dynamics. In the development dynamics, in fact, we would be discussing, for example, various topics with a special reference to Indian development. For example, women and development, the self-help group movement. And here we would not be focusing on the incidents or developments in other countries. Rather, we would be focusing it with a special reference to India. So under development dynamics, concept of development, changing profile of development administration, anti-development thesis, bureaucracy and development, strong state versus the market debate, impact of liberalization on administration in developing countries, women and development, the self-help group. Personal administration is another topic, which has several things common with the in fact the second chapter's second paper's 8th chapter, that is civil services. For example, in the personal administration, the topic discipline appears. Similarly, the term discipline or topic discipline appears in the 8th chapter, that is civil services. Further, grievance redressal mechanism has been discussed here. We would say together we would be discussing grievance redressal mechanism as hinted with a special reference to India in chapter 8, that is civil services of the paper second. Similarly, code of conduct has been discussed. Code of conduct together with administrative ethics has been discussed in chapter 9 of the first paper. Similarly, we would be discussing it with a special reference to India, Indian development, Indian context. In fact, this way we would be in fact discussing chapter 8 some of the topics. For example, civil service neutrality or code of conduct also appearing here. So this way we would be finishing our discussion on the 9th chapter of the first paper. 10th paper relate to public policy. In fact, even in Bihar this year, questions appeared on public policy, and last year, say when the mains examination was conducted, say for the optional paper public administration, a question appeared on public policy. So whether policy is a science, say in fact this is the focus of the UPSC and state civil services examination. Here we would be providing you models of various policy making and their critique. Process of conceptualization, for example, say planning, implementation, monitoring, evaluation and review of all and their limitations, review of all such policies and their limitations. We would also be discussing state theories and public policy formulation. What are the state theories in this regard? We would be discussing this one. Finally, we would be coming to chapter 11, that is techniques. Here we would be discussing the techniques. This is there is some topic that require patience. In fact, they seem to be boring to certain extent, but since it is the techniques, so we would be discussing techniques with a special focus on the work study and work management, e-governance and information technology, in fact with a special reference to India. Management aid tools like network analysis, MIS, PERT, CPM, etc. Lastly, we would be discussing chapter 12, that is financial administration. Again, some of the topics hinted under chapter 12 have commonality with chapter 9 of the second paper, that is financial administration. In fact, here financial management in the second paper, it appears financial management, that the chapter's name is financial management, while in paper first the chapter's name is financial administration. So under chapter 12, monetary and fiscal policies, for example, appear in general. So in general, after discussing monetary and fiscal policy, we would shift our attention to discussing things with a special reference to India. And here we would expand the topic under the financial management chapter in chapter 9 of the second paper. Role of finance ministry in monetary and fiscal area has been given as a topic there. So we would be discussing this one. Further, public borrowings and public debt budgets, we would be discussing it with a special reference to India. Say types and forms, budgetary process, again we would be discussing it with a special reference to India. And we would also discuss some of the topics of the financial management chapter 9, that is budget as a political instrument, parliamentary control of public expenditure. So we would be discussing, in fact here while discussing budgetary process, we would make mention of those things. Financial accountability, we would be discussing here financial accountability, and the term accountability also appears in chapter 9. Say here it appears say in a different form. I would like to tell you, say role of Controller General of Accounts and Controller and Auditor General of India, they in fact ensure financial accountability. So we would either together be discussing these topics, or we would be separating them as the need warrants. Say this way we would be finishing our discussion on chapter 12. I would like to tell you that you should read following books for chapter 12. Books suggested for chapter 12, sorry, for paper 1, not chapter 12, not chapter, in fact for paper 1. Books suggested for paper first. For thinkers, read standard book read by all, that is Prasad and Prasad book, Administrative Thinkers. Administrative Thinkers by Prasad and Prasad. There is an old book that if you get lay your hands on, that is if you have access to that one, you can also read R.K. Arora's and Rajni Goyal's books. R.K. Arora and Rajni Goyal's books, or book. Here also it is in general, so it should be in plural. This is the second one. Say together with, say you can't say just frown upon it, disapprove of it, or do things without it. Better you should purchase first this one and then say start searching this one on Administrative Thinkers. Say this is the book that you need to study for covering various papers. Secondly, second book, B.L. Fadia's, written in very lucid style, simple in fact language. B.L. Fadia's, B.L. Fadia and Kuldeep Fadia is his son. Together these duo in fact have written this book. B.L. Fadia's book on paper first and paper second, they have written say both, but you should purchase this one, paper first. Even you can say read Lakshmi Kant's old book, say that he keeps on revising in fact and has in fact according to the old syllabus in fact has written this one and included in this one objective questions, but you need not go for objective questions as the optional paper has been removed from the qualifying papers. But you can read the content, Lakshmi Kant's book on public administration. You should read this book. Say for say not too much book, in fact they would make say the case poorer. And the fourth one, for public policy and also for public administration, Sapru's book. So this way you need not say read more than 4 books. These these in fact books would make your case easier, would give you an insight into all the chapters, and you would be able to cover all the chapters and make notes. I would tell you later how to make notes. Today in fact I would be discussing a strategy, and I would also tell you how to in fact start writing the answer. Now let me discuss chapter second, say book that is paper second. Paper second and the chapters hinted there. There are 14 chapters under paper second. First one relate to the evolution of Indian administration. Under this you should read Kautilya's Arthashastra, Mughal administration, British legacy, its role in politics and administration, Indianization of public services with a special reference to 1919 Government of India Act. We would be discussing it later. Revenue administration then and now. District administration, in fact since we are discussing the legacy, so we would be tracing the legacy and we would be connecting it with the present scenario. Local self-government, this way you would be able to in fact discuss or study chapter first. The second one is philosophical and constitutional framework of government. I would like to tell you here in broad terms, we would be looking at all the main features of the Indian Constitution. And in fact, for this we need to study D.D. Basu's book, because he has discussed the philosophical background of the Indian Constitution in a well versed manner. You can also read Shukla's, say V.K. Shukla's book, but here D.D. Basu's book or even M. Lakshmikant book is sufficient. Third one relate to public sector undertakings. For public reading books on public sector undertakings, better you should rely on only one book of Ramesh K. Arora, that is Indian Public Administration, that I would hint you later. The topic suggested here, in fact, is public sector in modern India, forms of public sector undertakings, problems of autonomy, accountability and control, impact of liberalization and privatization. We would be discussing this one. Just as I told you, for first one, I would suggest you to study the book written by Ramesh K. Arora and Rajni Goyal. Even for the second one, you can study, or you should study this one. In fact, the topic appears there with the similar topic in Ramesh K. Arora book. For example, salient features, value premises, for example, the concept of constitutionalism, that I will tell you, and it also appears in a small, you can say, space in Ramesh K. Arora's book. Say for political culture, I would be discussing things later. And as I told you, bureaucracy and democracy, bureaucracy and development, in fact, are common with some of the topics of the first paper. Accordingly, the third paper, we would be having a discussion on the third paper. And in fact, while discussing the third paper, we would be in fact taking some threads from the fourth chapter, that is organizations, of the first paper, but with a special reference to Indian public sector undertakings. Now coming to the fourth chapter, that is Union Government and Administration, I hinted you that here broadly we will be discussing various aspects of the executive, parliament and judiciary. For example, their structure, functions, work processes, recent trends, intergovernmental relations, cabinet secretary, PMO, central secretariat, ministries and department, boards, commissions. All these things have been hinted in chapter 4, that is organizations. So while discussing chapter 4, our effort would be to save time and discuss things there. I would like to tell you, say in the recent polity syllabus, in fact hinted by the UPSC after 2012, say that came to be asked from 2013 onwards. I would like to tell you, say the structure, functions, these things in fact have been hinted also there for executive, judiciary and the legislature, that is parliament. Next one is plans and priorities. It requires a little bit of economic sense or economic knowledge. Here we would be discussing Niti Aayog. I also discussing Planning Commission, that is machinery for planning or machinery of planning, its role, composition and functions. Say in fact the role, composition and functions of the Planning Commission. However, at this time we would be discussing it with a special reference to the Niti Aayog. We would also be discussing the National Development Council. In fact, Planning Commission, National Development Council, both have been supplanted. In fact, both have been substituted for Niti Aayog in 2015. But still we would be discussing it. We would be discussing the meaning and in fact significance of indicative planning. I would like to tell you, next topic suggested under chapter 5 is process of plan formulation at union and state levels. Here we would be discussing the role of the state planning board and state planning ministry, the role of the state planning ministry and role of the state planning board. We would also be discussing the role of the district planning committee, as mentioned under article 243. We would also be discussing it with a special reference to grassroots level and regional planning. Besides discussing say Niti Aayog and others, say after that one we would be discussing Constitutional Amendment 1992. In fact, we would be discussing Article 243, especially 243 ZD and ZE both, and decentralized planning for economic development and social justice. We would be discussing say this one with a special reference to the poor people, how far could have they been benefited from the planning. We would also be discussing some of the plans that have in fact provided a mainstream opportunity to them to better their lot. Now coming to the 6th chapter, we would be discussing state governments and administration. Here our focus would be on the union, state, administrative, legislative and financial relations, with a special reference to article say 246. I would like to say, in fact, under article 243 we would be discussing local bodies, and under article 246 you should not get confused, we would be discussing this one, the various relations, 246, from 246 to 281. Thereafter we would be discussing the role of the finance commission under the same chapter. Governor, the role of the governor, the relation with the chief minister, council of ministers, the role of the chief secretary, and comparing the role of the chief secretary with that of the cabinet secretary. We'll also be discussing the structure and function of the state secretariat and directorates, that the differences between them and the differences in their structure and functioning. Say later we would be discussing chapter 7, that is district administration since independence. In other words, we would be discussing Nehruvian era developments, followed by say developments during Janata Party government and Rajiv Gandhi government and later. So we would be discussing all these things. Changing role of the collector. Here our focus would be on the changing role of the collector. Union, state, local relations. I would like to tell you here the simple way of looking at these things is, say during British period, in fact there was no welfareism. The main concern of the administration was twofold: the collection of revenue and maintenance of law and order. But this time, besides these two, one, in fact welfareism has been the main role of the district collector. So we will be looking at his role. We would also be looking at union, state, local relations. In fact, with the help of a few diagrams, we would be looking at them. And what are the pressures, compulsions of development management. And besides development management, we would also be looking what constraints it creates for the maintenance of law and order. So we would be looking at these things. We would also be looking at district administration and meaning of democratic decentralization, and who participate in democratic decentralization, what is the role of elected panchayats and our municipalities and bureaucracy in this regard. We would be discussing chapter 8 say under civil services heading. This would be say after district administration. Here our focus would be on the constitutional position of the civil services, that is broadly with reference to chapter 14, the article 309, starting from 308, in fact 308, 309, 310, 311, say 312, we would be discussing all these things. Restructure, recruitment, training and capacity building. Certainly we would be looking at the UPSC and its role. We would also be looking in brief at the State Public Service Commission. Good governance initiatives, we would be looking at this one. Good governance initiative, how say such initiatives have started in India, what are the major components, say followed by other topics. Code of conduct and discipline, which I told you that we would be clubbing it together with the topics suggested under chapter 9 of the first paper. Staff associations, we would be discussing the difference between employees association or employees union and staff associations. We would be discussing the political rights, that is political rights of the civil servants, whether it is allowed in India or not, comparing it with other countries in brief, because it is with particular reference to India. So, but in brief we would be mentioning say what is their status in the United States of America, in Great Britain, in France, etc. Grievance redressal mechanism, say we would say attempt to club it together with chapter 9 of the first paper. Similarly, we would be discussing civil service neutrality from the perspective of the Weberian bureaucracy and also in general. And civil service activism, this has been hinted say for the first time in 2007. I would like to tell you that civil service activism has now occupied a center stage, with some of the civil servants aligning themselves with political parties, or in fact with the people and the opposition, believing that they act as an agent or at the behest of the party in power. For example, right now a surging in fact opposition is there against Rakesh Asthana, who has just taken over as the police commissioner of Delhi with extension of his tenure. In fact, things have gone to the Supreme Court for discussion. Say next one, administrative reforms since independence. We would be discussing it with a special reference to India, major concerns. In fact, Ramesh K. Arora has very in a vivid fashion, in fact, very vividly has say discussed this topic. So major concerns, important committees and commissions, reforms in financial management and human resource development, problems of implementation. We would be discussing all these things with say with the help of the book written by Ramesh K. Arora. We would be discussing rural development. In fact, here we would be discussing things with a special reference to Panchayat Raj institutions and 73rd constitutional amendment. In fact, there are certain topics which we may club with district administration, say discuss it separately as well. There is the 12th chapter, that is urban local government. Again, here we would be, our focus would be on the discussion of the discussion and elaboration of the 74th Constitution Amendment Act 1992. Here we would be discussing some more topics or some new topics like global local debate, new localism, what are their impacts on the say urban development, and also we'll discussing in brief smart city scheme launched by Modi government when he came to power in 2014. Development dynamics, we would be discussing it. In fact, some of the topics we would be in fact referring to chapter 8 of the first paper. Politics and administration with a special reference to city management. We would be looking at with a special reference to Delhi and some other areas. For example, in a municipal body in Delhi, BJP is there, while the government in general is run by Delhi government. So, but still say law and order, land, police, in fact, are in the hands of the center. So we would be looking it with a special reference to Delhi. Law and order administration, here we would be discussing British legacy, say, and the National Police Commission, Dharmveera Commission, it is known as. Investigative agencies, role of central and state agencies including paramilitary forces in maintenance of law and order, contesting insurgency of terrorism, that is the new topic. Criminalization of politics and administration, this is again a new topic, in fact, that has occupied the center stage for the last 10 years. Police public relations, here we would be discussing, because a charge is always made against the police that police act say in a colonial way, with colonial in fact approach. So we would be suggesting further suggesting what reforms are needed in police. Lastly, we would be discussing chapter 14, that is significant issues in Indian administration. Right now, issues of values in civil service or public service say have been very important. Secondly, we would be discussing the role of the regulatory commissions, how in fact after privatization the role of the regulatory commission has gone up. We would also be discussing National Human Rights Commission and its statutory status, what reforms are needed in this one. We would also be discussing problems of administration in coalition regimes. In fact, before Narendra Modi, there has been coalition era. So what constraints or hiccups had appeared, or in fact what problems were faced by the administration, we would be discussing that one. We would also be discussing citizen administration interface, and say in fact this one with a reference to some of the topics of the 8th chapter, say we would be discussing. However, say we would be discussing it separately. Say further we would be discussing corruption and administration, types of corruption, how corruption in fact weakens administration, and how administration loses its reliability in the eyes of the people. We would be discussing Disaster Management Act and Epidemic Diseases Act, say in the wake of Corona pandemic. So we would be discussing all these things. I would like to tell you, say the book that I am going to suggest to you for the second chapter, second paper second, for all the chapters, read 3 books. Ramesh K. Arora and Rajni Goyal's book. That is Indian Public Administration. Administration. Second book by B.L. Fadia and Kuldeep Fadia. B.L. Fadia on Indian Government and Politics. In fact, the book's name is Indian Government and Politics. Latest edition, purchase this one. The third book that I am going to suggest to you, in fact, read only these three books. Say of R.K. Maheshwari, R.R. Maheshwari's book on civil service and on Indian administration. Two books, Indian administration. So read, say book number this. If I mark it with a number, then it would be the first book, followed by the second book. This is the third book, and this is the fourth book. Read these four books by three authors, what I mean to say. So this way your case would become easier. They cover majority of the topics, and a few topics, if they don't cover, if they miss out on them, then I would discuss it in the class. So read out these books. These books in fact would make your case easier, and you be able to make notes. Now let me discuss the strategy. Any question in the optional paper requires a theoretical framework. Even if you are discussing questions of the second paper, you need to say start it with a theoretical, say some of the theoretical underpinnings or theoretical framework. So better if you do this one. Say hence make a quotation of a scholar. Secondly, this would constitute the introductory part. Expand the topic with further data, etc. on this one. Third one, evaluate it, that its strength and weaknesses. Focus more on strength. If the question is of critical examination, focus in balance on both aspects. And if it is simply discuss, comment, etc., then better you should focus on the strength or the positive aspects of this one. Finally, conclude the topic. In conclusion, you must draw up the summary of the discussion that you have already made. In fact, it should be symmetric one, not asymmetric one, in a way where your introduction goes somewhere haywire, or your conclusion goes haywire. In fact, if things go haywire, what I mean to say, or if they are wayward, if they are not in conjunction with each other, then the examiner would read it as a disjuncted part, as a separate part and disjoint part, and this way it would make a poor case for you. You would fetch very bad marks. Say I would like to tell you that follow this dictum. Say break up your answer into 4-1. May pick up a pencil, make a rough sketch on the question paper, that in introductory part you are going to write this one, in the expansion part you are going to write this one, in the evaluation or critical examination part you are going to mention these things, and in conclusion you are going to conclude it with either with the help of a quotation of a scholar or with your own view, but everything must be in conjunction with what you have discussed above. By conclusion we mean the child of the main text. So if in fact a monkey is born of human beings, certainly it would be a very bizarre case. That's way things also appear here. This is a body like a human body, and if a human body attempts to procreate something, he would procreate another human being. Similarly, if you want to in fact discuss a topic, ensure that these topics are connected with each other, and that's why you need to in fact mention connectors, that is adverbial phrases or prepositional phrases like besides, however, for contrast, moreover, for expansion, you can say notwithstanding, for contrast, notwithstanding, notwithstanding for in fact expansion, and nonetheless for contrast. Nonetheless for contrast, notwithstanding is like besides, in fact it indicates as expansion. So better you should use these connectors so that examiner thinks that things have not appeared suddenly say from nowhere, from a vacuum, and they in fact are expansion of the previous discussions. So this way you be able to connect different topics, and examiner would develop an interest, so introduce the topic in an interesting fashion. So better you should start things with a quotation of a scholar and later expand it. You can also mention some of the general aspects in the introductory part. For example, if a discussion appear or a question appears on women's reservation, don't discuss women's reservation per se straight away. Rather, you should discuss women's reservation first in general, and what benefits in fact reservation brings out, and why reservation has been there. After justifying this and after discussing the benefits, come to the specific point of discussing women's reservation in the expansion part. Give the data and how in fact women could change the political profile or political, you can say, landscape of the country, with a focus on the amelioration of the status of women and other disadvantaged sections. You should better discuss it with the help of data taken from an institutional finding, or from the quotation of someone, or from the experiments of other countries. For example, while discussing this one, you can quote the example of Rwanda. This way, whatever you say, whatever you argue, in fact gets the authority, and examiner would be impressed. This is called academic study. So if you do these things, you would be say better placed to get high marks, and not only high marks, in fact you would get selected in the examination or for the services. So this way you should go after the question. I would like to tell you that read one book 20 times over without reading say 20 books once. In fact, say don't read one book say one at one time only, and read 20 books say 20 individually. In fact, this way you count that you have finished things 20 times. No, read one book 20 times, so that even the comma and full stop is crammed. Ultimately, it is the memory that is tested hugely in the examination. And if you cram it up by tying up your say hair or thread of hair, say with a fan, so this won't help you. In fact, better you should study it with fresh mood whenever your mood demands. Better you should sit in chair for 8 to 10 hours a day. 8 to 10 hours a day. Develop this capacity. Say in fact, if you get bored say with this one, you won't be able to provide service in the administration for say 30 or 30 odd years. I would like to tell you, if you get selected at the age of 23, 24, what I mean to say, you would be there in the service say for 36 years. And while performing so many routine jobs, you might soon develop say boredom. So if you want to avoid these things, in fact such examination, this examination has been designed with this one, keeping in mind this fact, very fact. So better you should spend 8 to 10 hours a day in chair, while sitting in chair, what I mean to say, and that too with focus. Say it should not be a wastage of time, it should not be whiling away the time or just for entertainment purposes. Yes, to keep your mood refreshed, say you can watch movie, you can talk to your friends, you can have a stroll outside, you can go for some other entertainment, for taking coffee or some other things. Say in fact which way say your mood exhilarates, which way your mood in fact softens, and say you get refurbished or feel refreshed. So whatever way you feel say you could make things easier, you should do that one. And even you can choose the timing, be it at night or during day, but spend 8 to 10 hours. Even 6 hours of serious study is sufficient, it is considered. But say 8 to 10 hours a day, say putting it at least for say 1 year, with extra slogging of 1 or 2 hours on Sunday or weekend, say that would in fact give you extra boost. So ultimately it is the test of memory that you should be able to acquire while sitting longer in chair. In fact, passing out civil services examination requires sitting longer in chair. I would like to tell you, because on average an IAS officer in executive position, say middle executive positions like district collector, has to dispose of 107 pages daily on daily basis. So this is the strategy: read one book 20 times over. Try to make notes. In fact, after reading books, when you think that you have got the complete grasp of the content, then better you should take it down and make notes of the things. And this way it would save your time, say for again going for reading the entire book. So better you should say in the last 1 month before you appear at the examinations, better you should read the notes. And by making notes, in fact, you get attuned with the skill of writing. Your hand gets attuned and you don't get tired, or you don't feel enervated during examination time. So say this way you will be able to read the book. Once you start understanding and grasping the content of the book, better you should leave out the book, make notes from this one and read only notes, and sit in chair for longer period. Say concentrate or focus on this one. Develop the interest that you be district collector, you be in fact say moving around in an official car. There would be so many staff at your disposal. At the younger age, in fact, you will get all these things. So once you start imagining these things, you will develop interest, and once you develop interest, you will be in fact you will get down to the serious business of achieving it by putting in your extra slogging. So say this way you will be able to crack the examination. Say hope you must have got enough from my lecture. Say in fact, as our lecture progresses from tomorrow onwards, in fact we would be discussing the content. So as our lecture progresses, I would be in fact telling you mid course, say these things again, repeating these things again and again. I would like to tell you, but for a while I am getting this class over. Thank you for watching this.